There are two ways you can react when something goes wrong during a gig. Hi, I'm Russ. I've been teaching and performing music for over 20 years. I'm going to tell you about the time something went drastically wrong in one of the biggest gigs of my life. So I was in college. I was performing for a Christmas program, and it was an ensemble of instruments, piano, guitar, percussion, violin, just a whole bunch of different stuff. And this was a big production. The school filmed it. It went out, broadcast all over the world on PBS stations. It was a big deal. Huge production budget, and this is where everything went wrong. I was waiting backstage, and tuned up. I get on stage, and I start to play, and I'm a quarter step flat, out of tune with the piano. Now, let me give you a little bit of a picture here. There's about 3,000 people in the audience. This is going to get broadcast all over the world in a few weeks. And here I am, music is playing, I'm supposed to be playing, and first note, my guitar's out of tune. Drastically out of tune. And I'm not plugged in. I can't mute myself and tune. There's a mic in front of me. I can't do anything about it. I'm trying to blindly guess what my tuning is, how far out I am, and tuning your instrument without listening to it is stupid. You're never going to get very far. I remember the one thing I was thinking for that entire 3 or 4 minutes, longest 3 or 4 minutes of my life, was don't make a face, don't make a face, don't make a face, don't make a face. I got through it. I faked it. I don't think I played very much, and what I played obviously was horrendous. And I got through it. I got off stage. Before I tell you how the story is, I want to tell you a couple of key things there. The first thing is how I reacted. Because when you mess up on stage, or when something goes wrong on stage, there are two things you can do. You can draw attention to it, or you can ignore it. Depending on what the hiccup is, and the gig, and who you are in the audience, and where it is, there are a lot of variables there that I don't have to go into. But you can either draw attention to it, and drawing attention to it can be a good thing. I've played gigs there where I messed something up, and I drew attention to it, made light of it, made a joke of it, moved on with the show. But that's not always the right thing to do. In fact, that's probably not the right thing to do most of the time. The other thing you can do is bring attention to it in a negative way. This is the, you make a face, you flinch. People read your body language and your facial expressions. So if you bring attention to it in a negative way, people are going to know. One of my mentors says, there are no wrong notes, only funny faces. And it's one of my favorite things to think about. And that's what I was thinking about during this performance was don't make a face, don't make a face, don't make a face. The other thing you can do is ignore it. Just pretend nothing happened. This is usually the right thing to do. Just pretend like nothing happened. Sometimes that's harder than others, depending on what goes wrong. You step on your cable and unplug your guitar. It's a pretty big deal. You can't pretend nothing happened because you have to plug it back in. But you don't have to draw unnecessary attention to it. You can just plug it back in, go on with the show. In my case, I wasn't plugged in. I didn't have an opportunity to retune, and there was nothing to do but try and survive. Don't make a face, don't make a face. Now, I also want to point out, I didn't make a mistake in what I was playing. I think for a lot of people, that's the fear. What if I mess up? You're gonna mess up. Newsflash, there is no such thing as a perfect performance. Ever. I don't care how good they are. I don't care how many shows they've played. I don't care who it is, what instrument. The perfect performance does not exist. What I mean by that is the mistake-free performance, the flawless performance doesn't exist. What exists and what separates professionals and like the high caliber performers from less so is how they cover their mistakes. Okay, how you cover your mistakes is what separates you from the crowd. So how you cover your mistakes comes down to your preparation. How much have you prepared for the gig? And it comes down to your confidence. If you make a mistake and you spiral and your mental focus shifts to, oh my gosh, I just messed up. What am I going to do? Did anybody notice? And you're doing that on the inside. You're going to not have fun, for one thing. And it's going to detract from the rest of your performance. When you're on a stage playing music, sharing your music with people, you got to have a short memory. You got to be a goldfish. I know that's a cliche thing to say, but you got to not remember the thing that happened because it already happened and there's nothing you can do about it. Some great parallels for life, right? That mistake already happened. That's 3 measures ago, 2 measures ago, 3 songs ago. I've been there, done that. I'm guilty. Made a mistake and I'm still thinking about it 10 minutes later. It's like, dude, forget about it. Goldfish, move on. Get to the next thing. Because there's still more songs to be played. So it comes down to your preparation. It also comes down to your focus. What are you focused on? Are you focused on yourself and your mistake? What went wrong for you, what happened to you, even if it's not your fault, it happened to you? Or are you focused on your audience? If you're focused on your audience, the mistakes become less of a problem. And another mentor say, when you're self-conscious, what are you focused on? Yourself. Makes you conscious of yourself. You should be audience conscious. Audience focused. Because if you're focused on your audience, they're not going to care about your mistakes. And in a lot of settings, if it's appropriate and it makes sense and it's so blatantly obvious that you made a mistake, you can call attention to the mistake, laugh about it, say, don't know what that was, or oops, wrong key, and move on. Quick story, one of my favorite cover ups I've ever done in a show. It was like a week after I got a brand new guitar and I started a song in the wrong key and I couldn't keep going. I had to stop and I just said, hey, it's a new guitar. The guitar doesn't know the songs yet. Everybody laughed. My bandmates laughed, got it in the right key and moved on with the show. And it was a lot of fun. So be prepared. You're gonna make mistakes. Okay? It's gonna happen. There's no avoiding it. The question is, how are you gonna react when they happen? Are you gonna ignore them? Probably the right move. Are you gonna draw attention to them? And if you draw attention to them, is it positive or negative attention? If you draw negative attention to it, that's not good because it disrupts the rest of the performance. It disrupts the experience for your audience. It makes you feel terrible about yourself and can send you into a spiral and disrupt the rest of the show. If you draw positive attention to it, shortens the moment, makes it funny. It's a point of connection with the audience. You seem more human, relatable. The audience gets a laugh out of it and you move on with the show. And then it's a cool story for later when you start your YouTube channel. So back to the disaster in front of 3,000 people. Say disaster. It wasn't because I didn't draw attention to it, didn't make a face, just tried to get through it. So the end of the story is I run into the dean of the School of Music right after the performance, come off stage and see him. And he says, so you're having some intonation issues? I'm like, yeah, you think? I think my hands were still shaking from the fear. I was just freaked the heck out. And they're like, oh, okay. And I get a call the next morning while I'm at work, and he asks, hey, can you go to the studio where they're mixing the show last night and re-record your part? I was like, yeah, I can do that. So I drive up to the studio, meet the engineer, and sit down, play the part. And I made some great connections, made some new friends, got me into some different rooms. And then I remember watching the broadcast on Christmas Day, and you couldn't tell because I didn't draw attention to it. Had I drawn attention to it, had I made a face or freaked out or been like, oh, guys, we gotta stop, which would have been absolutely ridiculous, they couldn't have used that piece. It would have just been scrapped from the broadcast. They'd have covered over it with something else that had gotten cut. But instead, I didn't draw attention to it. I didn't freak out. And we were able to fix it, and we were able to use it. And it's a beautiful piece of music, and I'm really glad it lives out in the world. So, comment your biggest fear or your biggest horror story from a performance, and let me know how it went. What'd you do? What would you do differently? And if this resonated with you, drop a like and follow me for more videos on how to love the stage and build your confidence performing and sharing your music. Thanks. I'll see you soon.